Hello everyone, I'm Tim from Tim's PC, and I build custom PCs to suit anyone's needs or budget. Also live stream my builds and repairs for transparency and educational purposes. So if you would like to get an awesome new PC and you'd like to see it get put together live, send me a message today. Alrighty, so tonight we're going to be finishing off the PC from last night. So as you can see, our trusty test bench is up here. So basically I'll get Christine to share the screen for me because I've already done like most of the hard work here. So what we were doing with this PC is we needed to add an SSD because at the moment it had everything running off a hard drive, including Windows, and that was bottlenecking the hell out of it. It was bottlenecking Windows, let alone, you know, in game it's okay once it loads, but man, everything takes a while to load. Just doing things in Windows takes a while to load. So we had to do something about that. So on this hard drive that you see here, we have a C drive and a D drive partition on it. So what I've done is I've cloned this hard drive onto an SSD, and now we've got two copies of the same data. But now what we want to do is we want to remove one of the partitions from both drives, the opposite partition. So we're left with a C drive and a D drive at the end of the day. So if we open up in my computer over here, or this PC, we can see the local disk there. That's the hard drive that this operating system's installed on. This is my plug-in SSD, portable NVMe. Something's going wrong with Twitch. Not working? Yeah, we haven't streamed on Twitch for a while, so...
I forget how to use it.
Christine forgets how to use it.
Oh no, there's been an update and you need to
I have to do...
it.
Okay, I've got to redo everything.
Yeah.
Alright. No worries. Well, everyone else normally watches on Facebook and YouTube anyway, so that's fine. It's not going to interrupt them. So let's just keep moving. Anyway, so as you can see here, we've got local disk E, local disk F, and local disk G and H. So it's copied it in the same pattern, but basically E will be on the SSD, G will be on the SSD, F will be on the hard drive, and H will be on the hard drive.
So,
Yeah.
good evening to me.
Hey, gone.
How are ya?
Good to have you here.
Happy Saturday.
So we got a bit of a mess to clean up here. So there is some software that I like to use to deal with problems like this. It's not free software. There is a free version, but it has limited functionality. And it is called Aomi Partition Assistant. I really love tools like this that are really powerful. However, I don't recommend, you know, playing around with this sort of stuff if you're not familiar with what you're actually doing. So what we might do as best practice, because I'm going to show you best practice right now, is we're going to shut down the computer and we're going to do this one drive at a time. We're not going to have any chance of if Aomi's got the order of the drives wrong compared to what's in my brain, I want to take that out of the equation. So we're going to go ahead and unplug our hard drive there. Now I'm going to unplug the power to it as well, so it's not just spinning for no reason. And now we'll turn our computer back on.
So,
Yeah.
and Daniel wants to know, do you think computers will go beyond 8K one day?
Beyond 8K, like, do you mean like as in like the resolution that a graphics card will output to? I'm assuming that's what you mean. If that's the case, then yeah, absolutely. It's the 8K. You're just saying, can a graphics card is a graphics card capable of X pixels times X pixels as an output? And yeah, absolutely. Like that's coming. We've got 12K and 16K cameras right? And video cameras and stuff right now. They're being used by professionals. So it's only going to be a matter of time before we start seeing gaming at those sort of resolutions as well. I don't see any reason why not, but the only thing that would limit that is if there is a limit to the production of screens at that resolution for gaming with the high refresh rate. I'm not sure if there's going to be some sort of barrier that we come across there as we start to push things with that. I'm not going to claim to be like a full-on expert. Oh, now it's booted to the wrong fucking drive. Good one. Sorry, it's not anyone's fault. I just got distracted answering the question then. So I'm going to go into boot menu, so I just keep hitting F11 on my ASRock X570 Steel Legend. And when you do that, eventually, when I actually see the screen, okay, so now we want to boot to my SSD, which is CT500P2 SSD8. This one down here is our 2 terabyte SSD, and as you can see, it really wants to boot to that one right there. For some reason it's not reading the boot manager partition on my drive. Anyway, we'll get there in the end. Okay, so now we are left with just these two here, which is our SSD. So all we're going to do, we're going to open up Aomi Partition Assistant. I've been using Aomi for a couple of years. It's really good software. I really like it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. I've been showing me some stuff this afternoon.
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to delete our H partition here. We don't want to delete these other ones because these are to do with Windows boot. So all we want to do is we want to delete the H partition. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go delete partition. I'm going to delete partition quickly without wiping data. Just mark it as empty space. And so now we've got 1.72 terabytes of unallocated space there. So now what we can do is we can resize our partition. And so it has automatically calculated. Oh no, wait, it hasn't. Hang on, why isn't it not? Let me apply the first one. Usually lets you stack multiple operations nicely. Hang on, why is that not letting me just... If I do it as a merge, I'll do it as a merge. It usually, in my experience, maybe this is a new update or something that they've done, it's normally just lets you resize it based on how much unallocated space you have left on the drive. And so we'll merge these two partitions. So now we have just E and our other Windows boot partitions. And so we can go ahead and apply that. It's going to say locking E. Alrighty, so it's going to show you here that the move going from that to that. Total size is going from 97 gigabytes up to 1.82 terabytes, which is the full usable capacity of the 2 terabyte SSD. And yeah, we could change the cluster size. We'll just leave that as default. That's fine. So we'll click on proceed, and why won't actually? What is it really going to make me do the PE mode? No, I shouldn't do. There we go. We got our error there from Windows. So that's all good. So let's go and restart the computer, and let's go and test that our SSD now is working correctly and boots into Windows. Yep, Windows Boot Manager on CT2000, so that's the 2000 gigabyte SSD. So we can click on that, and we should boot into Tyrone's Windows now. And we should see Tyrone's wants to do disk checking. We'll let it do disk checking. Windows is just having a bit of a cry. So this is normal. This is what you would expect to do when you play around with the partitions in the way that we just did. That's some very sort of raw kind of software. Not really too many safety features in there. That program will let you do some serious damage to your storage devices. Not physical damage, just damage to your data and your files and all that. And there we go. There's Tyrone's Windows. So we can go ahead and shut that down now. Did I not click on shut down? I'm sure I clicked on shut down. Am I going crazy? Or is it just doing its update thing, and then it pretends to reboot, then it shuts down? There we go. It did the second thing I said. Okay. So yeah, you now get 5-year warranties, the same as Samsung, on crucial SSDs as well. So that's pretty cool, right? Yeah.
Somebody tried spamming our permaculture page with an adult WhatsApp group.
Nice.
Plus 21.
Nice. I love it.
No.
I assigned an admin.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so it should be all good.
No, I deleted it myself.
Yeah, but I only just assigned them the other day.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so we'll go into boot manager here because we want to make sure that we boot to the right thing here because we don't want to boot to that hard drive. So boot to my copy of Windows. And so now we're going to do the exact sort of opposite thing that we did to this drive to that. So we're going to delete all of those Windows partitions and we're going to merge the rest of it. Since it didn't like me extending it, I think it's got something to do with the fact that the partitions had drive letters. Maybe something for them to address in a future update. Because as you can imagine, this is like a small company, right? This isn't fucking Microsoft, right? So this is like a small team of people working to make this fly. Okay, so now we're going to do the exact reverse here. We're going to delete all of these partitions. So Windows won't let you delete these partitions. If you go into disk management in Windows, you can't do what I'm doing right now. Windows has safety guards to prevent you from ever doing that. Alright, and it liked it when I did it as a merge. Alrighty, so we'll go and apply those changes. We've done 6 there. So it's going to do 6 functions for us at once. That's pretty cool, right? And so if you're wondering why there's different Windows partitions there, it's to do with the file format and structure of that partition. There's certain things that have to use like an old school file format, so it needs a separate partition on the hard drive to run that file format. Just how storage devices work. So that's why you see those other partitions there that you can't like do anything with in Windows and stuff. Alrighty, so that has completed that operation, and now we should see a 2 terabyte hard drive with no other shit on it. So that's a good thing. That means we are all ready to start the main part of our repair, build, upgrade, whatever you want to call it. We've pretty much rebuilt the whole thing because we had to like tear it down last night. That was a bit of a laugh. Check that out if you hadn't seen it. Yeah, nice photo, babe. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and we're going to shut down the test bench now.
Check out the shower.
Huh. Alrighty. So I'm going to unplug the SSD there. I'm going to unplug all this shit up here. Oh. There goes my bottle of water. There we go. Oh, it's still plugged in the power supply. That's a good trick. And it might also help. Oh, really? Okay, so we're back on this one. So what we're going to do now, obviously we're going to put our 2 terabyte storage drive now. It's definitely a storage drive. And our 2 terabyte NVMe SSD in there. Let's put that down there on the wood. And we got 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance RGB RS, 3200 megahertz CL16 memory. So we're going to give this little i7 here a little bit of a boost there with that faster, lower latency memory. And we're going to chuck on a Corsair Hyper 212 cooler. So this is the good one, in my opinion. I think there is a better version of it, but this is like in terms of the performance, this is the good one. So it comes with, as you can see on the side of the box there, it comes with 2 RGB fans, and it obviously you set it up in a push-pull configuration, and you've got nice copper heat pipes through over the CPU. Almost said heat source. Don't know. Well, I mean, it is a heat source, but it's just a weird way of describing it, right? All right. So first up, I'm just going to chuck in this hard drive. Yeah, yeah.
You know what? Listen, what's on the nail and the resize basketball and the vials?
It's no problem with it. Like, I mean, why would you? If you've got a graphics card, you generally don't need to. You shouldn't really need to worry too much about resize bar. It's not going to make a big difference for you. The people who want to enable resize bar are people with like a 5600G, and they want to be able to allocate more of the system RAM to act as VRAM for their for the 5600G. That's the sort of person who would enable that kind of thing. Like, go and have a look in your games that you play. Show me the game that, you know, if you've got like an RTX 3060 Ti, you know, any game that's going to be pushing it on 8, if you give it 10 or 12 gigabytes, it's got absolutely plenty of space. Most games don't go too much over 9. Like, I mean, yeah, you just gotta go, like, if I need more performance from my graphics card, look at actually getting a different GPU, not like a different graphics card, like, I mean, a different GPU. So if you have a 3060 Ti, get a 3080 or above. Don't get 3070 or 3070 Ti. They're the same GPU as the 3060 Ti. So yeah, in general, that's going to be way better, because the thing is, right, if you look up the clock speed of the VRAM that's in your graphics card, it's not even comparable to the speed of your RAM. So your RAM's going to, like, it doesn't add as much extra performance as people like to think it does, basically. Alrighty, well, let's just put this NVMe SSD up here into slot 1. We don't have any covers or heat sinks for them. Not that that's a problem though, because you really only need the heat sinks for your M2 SSDs if you've got like a really shit one, like really shit, or you've got a Gen 4 SSD. Though Gen 4 SSDs, they actually get pretty hot because they're pretty high speed. The Gen 3 ones are pretty good. They don't get too hot. So that's the good thing about that. Alright, so we got our new hard drive installed. We may as well go ahead and put the RAM in. Alrighty. And while we're here, we might remove the CPU cooler. So we did fix this CPU cooler up last night, but the reason why we're going to go with the better cooler is because this is on a Intel Z series chipset motherboard, right? And what that means is that a lot of the like controls are unlocked. So like there's like time limits on CPUs for how long they like boost up like at a higher clock speed and stuff before they start to throttle down. So what we can do with a better cooler and a Z series motherboard is we can turn off those limits. So even if we don't have an overclockable CPU, which we don't have we've got an F series CPU here, that's not really going to be a problem. We can still get a little bit of extra performance out of it as long as we've got a good cooler on it, because this cooler, you know, it will get pretty hot under there. Like an i7 is really sort of pushing it there for that little stock cooler, right? So I'm just going to use a bit of isopropyl alcohol here and just clean off the lid of our CPU. little bit of thermal paste on a capacitor there. Alright, so we'll put the RAM in and then we'll address this cooler, because that's probably going to be the hardest thing. It's hard, it's like kind of hard and awkward to mount a cooler when it's in a PC case like this. I just realised that's still plugged in. I shouldn't be installing RAM with the power supply plugged in. Or maybe I should. Maybe I'd get a heap of views on YouTube if something happened with that. No, it wouldn't be very exciting. And so yeah, it's also a little bit harder to install your memory modules when it's face up like this. The key thing is putting nice even, oh, if you get it in the slot properly, Tim, nice even amount of pressure. So ideally press hard on the center of the DIMM, or with 2 thumbs on either side of the DIMM, equal amount of pressure. Because it's really easy to plug it in and it like seems like it's in place, but like one side is making like slightly better contact than the other, and there'll just be one little pin that's not quite lined up properly, and then you'll have the good old problems with it booting up. But yes, once you put a little bit of even pressure on them, you can be pretty confident that it will be right every time. You'll also hear the 2 clicks from either side of the slot. Okay, cooler time. Okay. Oh, pre-installed fans. How nice is that? Just a whole heap of messy cables to sort out. That's okay. No thermal. That's alright. We can apply some more thermal, I think. I reckon I can spare some. I reckon I might have a little bit spare. Just a little bit. Alrighty, so we've got, basically what we've got here is just an RGB cable and a PWM cable, which stands for pulse width modulation, and that is the 4-pin fan connector. That's the technical name for it. So you might see the term PWM written around. That's what it means. And basically it's a fancy way of saying these fans can run really slow because they can accept less power because of the pulse width modulation thing, the magic that it does. Whereas other fans won't work properly under a certain, yeah, that's the DC fans. Yeah, look it up. I'm probably doing a really shit job of explaining it. Okay, so we need to get our bracket ready. So what do we get here? We get a couple of splitters. I think we've probably got plenty of fan headers on this board though. Like we got 2 spare ones over there which we can use for these fans. So, but I'm gonna add a couple of extra fans to this case as well, just because we're sort of beefing up the system a little bit here. So, you know, it will get a little bit hotter the way that we're going to tune this thing. So put that to the side because I'll probably use it later at some stage. And then what have we got? That's a fairly rudimentary RGB controller, but we don't need that. We've got these daisy chainable headers, and if I need an extension cable, I've got plenty of extension cables. Okay, so it's bracket time. So what have we got here? Here is a dual Intel AMD backplate. And here are two Intel brackets there. And this is our mounting kit here. So I might tip them all into there. So we've got these plastic clips with the Corsair tower coolers. So we need the 4 Intel ones. So basically they're the skinnier ones if you wanted to work out a quick way of sorting that out. And so we've got these little square screws here, and this will be the Intel position this way, and should be the smaller position here, because I'm pretty sure this is a LGA 2011 compatible cooler, and that will be the big position. So you just slot these in, put these little plastic clips over them to hold them in place. They're pretty easy to set up, these Cooler Master coolers. You'd think so. They got the name Cooler Master, so they got to be like kind of good at what they do, right? It's got to be kind of all right. And no, we're gonna have to take the whole motherboard out to install this cooler, actually, because I don't have room at the back to fit this back plate on correctly. And there's not really going to be any way around it. No. Damn, that sucks. But that's all right. That's what we do. So actually, this will sort of make it a little bit easier, but it will also make it sort of harder. But at least all the cabling is like where I want it now.
I can see the look on your face.
I know. I'm very much aware of the look on my face. Okay, so we'll put our graphics card down there and let's get unscrewing. Like I said, at least all the sort of fiddly stuff is out of the way now. Just the fucking motherboard to be removed from the case. See, that's one drawback about this particular case, is like there's not really a lot of room out back. They didn't think about like installing a new cooler when they designed this case. I mean, realistically, I think with this case, they'll probably just intending it to be to have like an Intel stock cooler in there anyway. Okay, so can I get away? Can I get away with just taking those screws out, maybe? Nah, the IO shield's going to be in the way still. No, there's no easy way around it, Tim. You just got to do it the fucking hard way. It's all good. You're 2/3 of the way there already. Now you're 7/9. 8/9. And I'm going to use a bigger screwdriver here because there's a lot of cables in the way. Oh shit. Yeah, they do not leave you much room here. Especially with this board, because it's probably got twice as many CPU power cables coming through here. Oh, fucking dead. Oh, I think I got it. Oh shit. Might help if I unplug the CPU power cables that I was just bitching about. Okay. All right. Now our motherboard is outside of the case. It's going to be a lot easier to mount this cooler. Oh wow, okay. This is not a 2011 cooler. Sweet. Alright, so now we can screw in our offsets. These are insulated bolts, so I don't know if you can see it from there, but there's a black pad on the bottom of them. So we're not just screwing metal down onto the PCB. So if you've ever seen these coolers before mounted in a case and you've been concerned about it, don't be. It's all fine. So they don't need to be like super tight. You just want to make sure that they're tight enough that you don't have any problems with it, you know, being loose. You want a loose CPU cooler. Okay, so now that we've got that in place, let's turn our attention to this thing and let's get our arms on. So we are mounting from the top here. Very good. And one more bolt. Where's that other arm? There it is. Very good. Okay, so I'll use a little bit more of this thermal paste. Oh, jeez, that's fucking on there, isn't it? So we got a bigger cooler. I'll do a standard X4, as I call it, thermal configuration. Thermal paste configuration, I should say. Just to make sure we got nice coverage there. Okay, that looks like a reverse, and this one looks like. So it's going to be blowing out this way, and that works out. Okay, so the one thing here is we've got a couple of fan headers that I wouldn't mind utilising that are like right here. So we get the cables up this way at first. Oh, we're gonna have to adjust. Adjust the height of this fan just slightly. Oh. Get my cables where I want them again. Just got a bit of a ram height thing there. Actually, I'm gonna have to remove this fan anyway, and the other side. Screw it in. What an idiot. What a fucking idiot. But I still want those cables where I want them. Alrighty. And so yeah, fortunately these just clip off like that. And if you just get your opposite corners in place, it'll be a lot easier to get the other two in place. Alrighty. Yeah, that'll be fine, just like that, and that's given us good coverage there. It's just like one notch too high for the RAM, but rather than like have one less span or one less stick of RAM, we're still pretty good like this. I could file that down on the corner there and it would still fit flush. There we go. So for our power cable here, we can probably slide that one down underneath all that. And we can plug that in down there. And hopefully if I've got enough fucking paper's getting in the way. We are like just too short to route it that way. That's okay. I can do a pretty good job at concealing this routed this way. So I'm actually going to use this heatsink to conceal it. I know it's not best practice, but we're not going to be overclocking this PC or doing any of that kind of stuff. So that should be fine. So how's that look? Oh yeah, sweet. You can barely see anything. Awesome. So we've got everything on our motherboard. It's all installed and ready to go. Now we've got to get it back into our case. So it was a really tight fit last time. That's one thing I remember about it specifically. So, and now we've got some extra cables here. RGB. So make sure they go to the back. All right. Is that another fucking offset that's in the wrong spot from last night? Fuck. Lucky I noticed that one. Okay, what's getting in the way here? Really, really, really tight. Okay, that's a bit better. There was a cable caught and it was causing us all kinds of grief. There's that looking at the back. Pretty good. Feel like something's... No, we're all good. Like I said, it's just a really, really tight fit in this case. There we go. Fuck me dead. Okay, I'll probably put the rest of the bolts in with it upright now, without too much of a drama. Oh, definitely need the long reach for this. Alrighty, there we go. So we have There you go, you bastard. Alrighty, so so we've got a 5-volt RGB now because we've got our fans for our cooler. These 3 pins are wonderful to plug in as well. And while we're there, we'll plug in motherboard power and our USB 3.0. And then we've just got this 12-volt RGB, which I can't quite see which way that header's around. Because see, with 3 pins you can't really go wrong, right? But 4 pins, you don't know which way it should go unless you look it up. There we go. Okay, so now we've just got this stuff along the bottom. This is another 12-volt RGB over here, because that's loose. Got our hard drive. Plug in our reset. HD LED. Power switch and power LEDs. These are the main ones that you don't want to reverse the polarity on. The others don't really matter as much. Oh, we got a slightly bent pin, that's why that's happening. There we go. Alright. Front panel audio. USB 2, got our RGB stripped down. Okay, that's everything plugged in except for our graphics card. Okay, well that took a little bit longer than I had planned. Free labour. Because yeah, I don't charge for like labour. I give people like the estimated sort of time for the job, but like if something goes wrong, it takes me long. I don't charge the customer for that. So when you see something go wrong like this, you can be like, ha ha, Tim's working for free now. Okay. Hell yeah. All we need to do is slide around this graphics card power connection. Alrighty. That's in place. So we were going to put on some extra fans. So I'm going to chuck one on up here. And we're going to plug it in up the top. And we're going to plug it in the exhaust position. Because yeah, it's good thing to have balanced airflow. But it's also a good thing to have the heat being expelled out the top of the case. That's why you'll see a lot of in a lot of PC builds, you'll see the radiator mounted to the top. That's so that the heat from the radiator from the CPU doesn't just get pushed back out into the case. So these two fans blowing out will help move heat away from the CPU cooler and ensure that that actually leaves the case. We don't really want that heat sort of sticking around. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put two on the front to draw cool air in from the front of the case. Because the CPU cooler is going to be sucking in air from here. So if we have cool air coming in from the front, that will mean there's basically cool air from outside the case being blown onto our CPU cooler. Alrighty, so that fan is also all plugged in and ready to go. So that was pretty painless, wasn't it? Now the front of this case, what have we got? Oh, okay, so looks like there's literally only room for one fan, and we've got to take out, oh no, we have to take out the floppy drive tray. Oh no, how will we ever survive in 2022 without the floppy drive tray? I'm sorry, Tyrone. But mate, the floppy drive tray, I know you're probably really attached to it, but it's got to go, mate. It's got to go, and it's fucking riveted in. Excellent. So, if you don't know how to remove a rivet, This is how you remove a rivet. So you get a drill and just lightly file it down. You don't have to go fucking crazy. Not quite. Let's file down the other one. Oh no, the whole, it's not even just the 3.5 tray, that is the whole thing on the front has to be removed like this to mount a fan. Yeah, it's literally in the way. See, there's this fan piece here, but you have rivets to remove if you want to mount a fan there, because if you put the fan on the front, you can't get the screwdriver into those top holes there. Well, I don't know. I don't even know if I'll bother actually removing all of them. I thought I was going to remove 2 there. We're going to pop out that 3.5 inch. Sorry, that floppy drive tray. But no, the whole thing, babe, with the disc drive, with the 5.25 inch bays up here, and that little floppy bay below it, that is all riveted into the case. And then there's like a place for a fan here, but you can't get to the fan bolts unless you remove all of that other stuff in there. So I'm gonna have to like jimmy a fan onto this case somehow on the front. All right, let's put one of these high velocity Corsair fans on the front. Maybe that can make up. Maybe that can make up for the fact that we've only got one fan blowing in cool air. Hopefully. So I'll have to mount it inside here if I can, possibly, maybe. I don't have many other places. I mean, at least it's not going to go anywhere under there. It's certainly not going to fly away.
This rope is absolutely terrible. I tried to wrap it up in like a nice neat thing. I'm going to touch the red one.
What can we do here? So since we're going to get one bolt on this front fan, let's put this instruction book to use. Normally it doesn't have much use, but yeah.
$670.
For $670. And I'm assuming you mean a streaming PC where you can game and stream all on the one PC for $600. I'm sorry, man. I don't make the prices of this shit, right? I don't make the prices. All right, I might just cut that off with a knife, but I've got that fan. That's in there. That's not going to go anywhere. We could probably do the same on the other side just to tighten it up. And yes, then we just got one more fan. Where's a spare fan header on this fucking board? No more up the top there. Alrighty, let's go back. Yes. There we go. Okay. Front goes back on. That's a shame we couldn't do the two fans there. But I don't know about you. I'm excited to see it actually booted up and all of our data in the right place and all that good stuff. So let's make sure she's functioning properly. Let me chuck in our graphics card, sorry, our Wi-Fi antenna. As I said, as I'm looking at the graphics card. So lucky I didn't fully pop those other two rivets out. I just drilled them down because it wouldn't have made any difference anyway. I'm not going to pull that whole thing out just to put one more fan on it. It's not worth it. Oh, one more thing I haven't done. We've got to connect that other RGB fan. Okay, there we go. So give it a minute because it's gonna get used to its new configuration. It's got new memory in there. Totally different memory to what it had before. It's now got an SSD in there. So yeah, that turning off and on then that's not a bad thing. That will happen normally when you do something like a memory change. Okay, so we're all sweet over here. So we've got the XMP. It's automatically been enabled. 3200 megahertz CL16. Excellent. And we shouldn't have to change anything else because there's no longer boot partitions on the hard drive. So this thing is just going to fire straight up. Alrighty. So now we'll have a much more responsive Windows environment. as I say that, and it's like doesn't respond. I spoke too soon. But everything here should be pretty good. If we go into Explorer, We can see now we've got our C drive there, and we've got our D drive. Plenty of capacity on both of them. No issues there at all. I will update the name down here. Let's not let me change the name there. I thought I could do it through that, but you can also do it from just right-clicking properties. Alright, there we go. So now it's really clear which one's which. That's our new SSD, that's our hard drive. Okay, so we've got the new cooler on here now. So what does that mean? So I should be able to download the latest version of this app that I'm going to be using via Armory Crate. Oh, that's the wrong one, Tim. Okay, so we'll install utilities. No. Oh, okay. Well, you guys are shit then, aren't you? So we're going to install an app here called Intel Extreme Tuning Utility, because we've got a really nice beefy air cooler now on our 10700F, so we can turn off some of the limits that normally go on a F series CPU. So because it's an F, we can't overclock it, but we most certainly, it might actually know this, it forces you to do a reboot with this one. Okay, so now we can go into XTU here, and when XTU decides to load for us, no, we don't need to participate in any programs here. Yep, so I'm just going to click on agree. It won't go don't show again. But as I said, we can't overclock here, so reference clock, voltage offset, core voltage, voltage mode, they are all locked out, as are the clocks by cores down here, and the cache voltage and everything else. So most of that stuff is locked out for us. But over here, we can make sure that it boosts for longer. We can turn all of these values up to max. we go. And so now if we open up hardware monitor and we open up CPU Z, the nice 4.6, which is holding it there at a maximum. Some of the cores, they will drop down for efficiency when not needed, but then when you put it under stress, she's just going to stay there at 4.6. It's not going to drop down to 3. But because we've got the better cooler on it now, it can handle this. It's not going to melt itself under these situations. If we did all those changes with this cooler, it'd be overheating pretty quickly while doing this. And so that will at least make this little F series roughly like a K series out of the box, more like a little bit less, but yeah, definitely not a shit CPU. And we could probably tune the fan curve on that as well. But there we go, it's holding there at 4.6, which is what we want. So we're not leaving anything on the table there. Alrighty. Oh, really?
Oh, she's found frozen with her 8 kittens.
There we go, we've got 130 watts going through it. Look at that. Sweet! And so yeah, this is why you buy a better cooler for your F-Series CPU. Excellent. Well, all I need to do is we need to activate Windows, but I won't do that in front of the camera. So that is all fucking sweet. Okay. So I mean, look, you got a 3060, so the 3060 is definitely like the bottleneck in your system. But that's okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a bottleneck in every system. Bottlenecking is not something that's just on bad PCs. The best PC will have a bottleneck somewhere. A bottleneck is just a part where its maximum performance is the one thing that's holding all the rest of the components back. Right? So ideally you want the bottleneck to be your graphics card. That's the most expensive component in your gaming PC. So you want all the other components to be able to keep up with that graphics card. So the bottleneck is with the graphics card. Because if the bottleneck's with the CPU or the memory or something like that, then you're buying a graphics card and then you're leaving that easy performance on the table. So you got a 750 watt power supply. So you can easily upgrade to like a 3060 Ti or 3070. Even though it might sound like 3060 Ti, they're like roughly the same thing. They're two different GPUs, so there's quite a considerable jump in performance. It's not like there's the 3060 and then like the 10% faster 3060 Ti. It's like there's the 3060 and then there's the like 40% faster 3060 Ti, almost 30-40%. Yeah.
Recently bought a PC
What's wrong? Oh, geez. So if you're not getting anything at all, I mean, you could have bad power supply. If you've got a power supply that's got, say, like a dead 12-volt rail, it won't do anything. You won't see anything. Sometimes if there's 5-volt lighting on the board, you might get that if the 5-volt rail on the power supply is okay and the 12 volts not. But yeah, I'd really have to be there to like look at it and stuff like that, because common things that people fuck up on and stuff like that is like the CPU power connector being pushed in all the way. It's like right up in the corner there. Sometimes it's hard to plug that in. If anything else on the motherboard, other than the main ATX power for the motherboard and the CPU power, if those two are plugged in, when you turn it on, you should get something. So, if another thing that can go wrong is it could be the switch on your power button. So remove the power switch cable and then touch the two pins with your screwdriver, because shorting those two pins with a metal object is exactly the same as pressing the power button. That's where the cable leads. The button literally just shorts it. So it's doing exactly the same thing as I'm doing by pressing my screwdriver on it. So if you want to take the power button out of the equation, that's how you do that. Yeah, if you've got power issues, power supply is obviously like one of the first things I look at. So the first thing I'd do if I had it here is I'd just disconnect your CPU power and your motherboard power and graphics card if you've got one and stuff like that, and I'd plug in my spare power supply, a known working unit, and then if it turned on then I'd know that we'd have a bad power supply. Because with PC repair, you don't rule things in, you rule things out, okay? You assume anything could potentially be the problem. To a point, obviously a bit of instinct and stuff will help you there. But you don't assume that something is functional until you confirm that it's functional. And when you've confirmed that it's functional, you can rule out that component. It's a big process of elimination. It's not necessarily the hardest thing to do, but it's the sort of thing where you need like $500-600 worth of spare parts lying around, usually even more CPUs and stuff like that. So it can get very expensive to do all this yourself. So good luck if you're doing it on your own and stuff like that. Yeah, the barrier you'll run into is being able to swap out other parts. I mean, for me, I just look behind me and I can pull up my thermal take. It's just a little 650 watt, but it's got a 10-year warranty on it and all that good stuff. It's a good power supply, and I don't have to worry about that thing sort of dying on me. So if ever I get a computer, I can just unswap the cables, plug it in. I can work out pretty quickly what the problem is, but you might not be in that situation. So alrighty, well, I'm thinking this is probably going to be the end of the night for this one, because all we've got left to do now is basically just I got a few little cables to tie down out the back and tidy up, but nothing major. I will do a stress test on this. So yes, it does fit with the cooler. I did measure that. Just FYI. Alrighty. Oh, that's a bit dirty, isn't it? Maybe we can give that a bit of a clean up. Alright. Well, I'm thinking that's where we might leave the video for the night. So, thanks everyone for watching. tomorrow night we've got another PC that we're going to be finishing off from a little while ago. So you may or may not remember a video from about a week or two ago. A poor guy had bought a second-hand i7 computer with like a GT 1030 in it or something like that, and he thought it was like relatively new, and he thought it was just a case of getting a new graphics card and power supply and bringing it to me and getting it installed. But his motherboard, CPU and RAM was so old that it wouldn't talk to the new RTX 30 series card. So then he had to go get a new motherboard and stuff, but then he got like a really powerful CPU and like the cheapest possible motherboard. And so then I had to come back and tell him again, dude, I can't put that CPU on that motherboard. Like, number one, like that CPU doesn't even come with a cooler, so you need to buy a cooler if you want to use that CPU on any motherboard. But number two, I'm like, if I put it on that board, it's probably going to overheat other parts of the board, because that board's not designed to have a high-powered i7K series chip in it. And those 11th gen ones, man, they flog them with power. So I had to give him the bad news once again. I'm like, look, dude, if I didn't care, I'd just take your parts, put them in your case, boot it up and give it to you, and if it's stuffed up on you, I'd just be like, oh well, he can bring it back to me and I'll charge him again. But I gave him some good solid advice there. I'm like, look, that board was a $109, here's a $138 board, so it's $29 extra, but it will be okay with the K series chip in it. So we're going to be finishing that one off tomorrow, so that'll be good fun. So we've already got the new power supply in the case. We just got to swap out the motherboard, put in the new motherboard, CPU and RAM, and yeah, get it going for him. Stress test it and make sure it's actually not going to overheat on him, because I'd rather fix all the problems that he's going to have that I can possibly fix while I've actually got it. So yeah, that's coming up tomorrow night. So look, until then, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video.